right. Because I know when I was a Senate candidate, and I originally criticised the Bureau for not doing parallel runs when you change your equipment. So you've changed from large Stevenson screens to small Stevenson screens. You've changed from mercury thermometers to platinum thermometers. Okay, and I was castigated for saying I didn't know what I was talking about. And this isn't science. This is record keeping. There's a very big distinction how you keep records. And that's something. So in the profession I came from, if we went and created an entire new data set, we'd end up in jail for that. Okay, so I just find this whole concept of homogenisation and ignore it, like the lack of parallel runs you did when you changed the Stevenson screen, to be very poor quality assurance. So I hope we get better bang for buck out of this $66 billion on the robust project that you've just implemented, because this stuff is very, very important.
Well, I think we share that in common, Senator, about how important the integrity of the national climate record is. There's a lot in your statements there, I think. Which,
well, okay, I'll ask you a specific question.
Yes, a specific question. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to start doing parallel runs when you change Stevenson screens, when you change equipment, because that's quality assurance 101.
I'll answer that question in two ways. As we've described previously, using 6 nearest neighbours rather than a simple paired comparison actually gives you a much more powerful means of understanding the effect of a change in observation practice. So that's why we use 6 nearest neighbours, and the name given to that, using those 6 nearest neighbours to correct a discontinuity, is homogenisation. So that's one thing that we do.
But we need to qualify that. So some of these neighbours are 1,000 kilometres apart, and some of these neighbours, so we've had this discussion before about Marble Bar and Port Hedland, some of these neighbours you take in coastal sites and comparing them to inland sites. How do you think you can do an actual homogenisation where you're comparing two different locations, geographical locations with different weather patterns? I mean, like my hometown's a couple of 100 kilometres from Brisbane. The weather pattern there is completely different to what it is in Brisbane, which has humid heat. 200 kilometres away, it's a dry heat.
Understood. So you use neighbours that are similar.
Yeah, I know the process. You don't need to explain it to me, but I still struggle as to why you wouldn't run multiple thermometers, for example, at the same location, just for redundancy. I mean, that was a recommendation in the independent peer review back in 2011.
I will say too, I mean, when we make changes to stations, such as those that we are going to be making in the next few years, all of those will be accompanied by at least 2 years of parallel runs.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yep. Okay, cheers. Thanks, Chair. Yeah.
Authorised G. Rennick People First Chermside.